Hey everyone, it's January 21st, and that means that if today is your birthday, you share with French serial killer Émile Louis, who murdered at least 7, but perhaps as many as 30 children in the 1970s and 80s. And that is him right up there. And yes, I'm still sick. Louis was born in 1934 and was abandoned as an infant, being placed in the French equivalent of foster care. Raised by a couple who were very strict parents, his foster father supported the family as a gravedigger, a skill Louis would later emulate. In his childhood, he was sexually abused at summer camp, but kept it a secret. He dropped out of school at the age of 14 after failing to matriculate and joined the French Navy in 1953. Louis got married during his time in the service, and he and his wife had 4 children, as well as taking in foster kids of their own. But this was far from a happy ending because Louis would routinely hit his wife and children. He embarked on a career as a school bus driver, being tasked with getting disabled students to school. He left his wife in 1977 and moved in with another woman who fostered children in the city of Auxerre. Louis was well respected, getting elected as a municipal councilor, which is roughly equivalent to joining a city council in the U.S. But behind the scenes, he was abusing the children placed with his new family and molesting many of the children he was driving to school. Some of his foster children and kids on the bus started disappearing in 1977, but they were all considered runaways. One of his neighbors went missing in 1981, with her body being the first of his victims to be found. But with his position in local politics, the gendarme in charge of the disappearances was discouraged by his bosses from pursuing Louis as a suspect. When his foster children complained about the sexual abuse they were suffering at home, he was finally brought in for questioning. He admitted to abusing his daughters in an attempt to get prosecutors to focus on that instead of trying to tie him to the murders that were occurring. It worked, and after a 3-year stint in prison, Louis was back out on the street. In the meantime, the detective who suspected he was guilty of murder had been told to abandon the case. He was once again hired to drive a bus, but was quickly fired after making suggestive comments to girls he picked up. His new neighbors hired him to babysit, however, because apparently no one in France ever makes good decisions. He was convicted of molesting those children in 1989, going back to prison for 3 more years. When released, he got married again and abused his new wife and her children. In 1996, investigators finally looked into the missing girls from his bus route, but the original gendarme had committed suicide by then, leaving authorities to start over. They finally arrested him for murder in 2000, and under interrogation he confessed to strangling 7 girls in the forest and told detectives where to find their bodies. Unfortunately, a flood had hit the area a few years previously, so they were only able to recover 2 of them to confirm his story. He was convicted of abusing his most recent wife and her children in 2004, being sentenced to 30 years behind bars. By then, he had recanted his confession of the murders, but prosecutors were able to get a guilty verdict, and he was sentenced to life in prison. 3 French magistrates were punished for failing in their duties due to Louis avoiding prosecution for over 20 years. He died in a secure hospital in 2013 at the age of 79. If this is your birthday, I hope you have a great day. Leave me a comment so I can wish you a happy birthday. If you know someone whose birthday it is today, send them this video so I can find out all about their birthday twin. And to Émile Louis, I say, happy birthday, you bastard.